Welcome everybody to the Edgewalker Cafe, February 15th, 2024. And I am so happy you're here with us. Our community is growing, it's building. It's such a time where those of us who have a real calling to live our deepest purpose and our deepest sense of spirituality in a way that makes impact on the world, often we feel like we're the only ones. But when we find that there's others who care and who are living their deepest values and practices, they make such a difference, and we come together and give each other courage. And the knowing that even though others might call us crazy, that we are able to support each other in community and make the kind of difference we're meant to make. So a lot of what we're talking about today has to do with purpose and calling, and I'm going to turn it over to my beloved friend and senior associate at Edgewalkers International, Patricia Campanile, who has been with Edgewalkers like from the very beginning, and even while the book was being written. Right. And you've done so much, Patricia, to help us grow our community and to bring in wonderful speakers like Bernadette Logue that we have with us today. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Judy. And thank you for being our leader and holding the vision and really ultimately starting and creating the space for this very important work. So hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Patricia Campanile, and as Judy said, I'm a senior Edgewalker facilitator, associate, and coach, and I'm really honored to be and excited to be hosting this Edgewalker Cafe today. Bernadette Logue and I met on an email when I was living in Maui, oh my gosh, 12 or 13 years ago. And we had this connection on an email that was so strong through the email that we've been just really close soul friends and colleagues and ever since. So I'm really excited to have her here today. So today's topic is called Your Soul's Calling, the courage to step up and stand out where it counts. And I am going to really turn this over to Bernadette Logue, who's a spiritual coach and an author, and have her start out by introducing herself and centering us before we get into our very inspiring dialogue today. So Bernadette, welcome, and thank you and everyone for being here with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Obviously, you are a very dear friend of mine, and I'm excited to connect with your community. And I know there's some people from my community here. So, as you said, I've been a spiritual life coach for about 12 years. I'm from New Zealand originally, but have lived nomadically around the world for the last decade or so, and have a really deep passion for this topic in particular, being aligned with our soul.
Wonderful. And so before we do a deep dive into this topic, can we do some type of centering just to bring us all together, to bring our energy together? And everyone's been coming from somewhere, so it'll be good to
Beautiful.
Do that. Thank you.
Okay, let's do that. We're going to do a little thing that I like to do with my Soul Odyssey community. Sometimes when we come into a group session like this, to really get connected to the fact that we are spirit in our body. And sometimes in our daily life, we all have stuff going on. We have big emotions. We have a lot of mind noise. We've got life challenges. We've got aspirations. Some of you have just woken up and come here. Some of you have had a big, busy day. So we're going to drop in and really connect with who we truly are, so that as we listen to the session today, we can be present as the spirits we are with bodies and minds, not showing up as our minds and bodies trying to figure out what our spirit's about. So we're going to close our eyes first. It's going to be a little bit physical and embodied. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to put 2 hands on your heart. And with our eyes closed, we're not going to breathe with our lungs. We're going to breathe with our heart center, knowing that our heart center is where the intelligence is and where the energy of life is funneling in and out of our being. And so we're just going to silently take 3 breaths in and out, breathing with our heart. So breathe in and breathe out. And breathe into your heart. And breathe out. And again, breathe into your heart. And breathe out. And now I want you to take, with your eyes closed still, I want you to take one of your hands and I want you to place your two fingers, your index finger and your middle finger, I want you to place it on your pulse, on the wrist or on your neck. You've got a pulse point where you can feel your heart beating. And with your eyes closed, I want you to feel your heartbeat. And we're just going to sit for 10, 15 seconds and feel the beat of your heart. And now I want you to acknowledge inside yourself that you are not here randomly on this planet inside this body. What is beating your heart? What is breathing your body? What you're sensing and the energy that is beating your heart and breathing your body is divine. It is otherworldly. It is the spirit you are and the source that you come from. And what is beating your heart is beating my heart and is beating the heart of every person here. And I just want you to repeat to yourself as we sit here with our eyes closed, I am a soul. I am here for good reason. My life has deep purpose. And I choose to walk my soul's calling. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and we can begin to have a juicy, juicy conversation.
Oh, that was so beautiful, Bernadette. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
reminder of who we really are. And I know when we spoke the other day, I was curious about the reason of all the topics, because I've been wanting to have you on the Edgewalker Cafe for some time. What compelled you to speak about this topic today? What is calling you? What is the message that you have for us today? What is the invitation?
Okay, so I'm going to give you what's coming through in the moment. Okay, so
Okay.
we've talked about some things we're going to talk about, but I spoke on many topics for many years on a wide array of topics. And in late 2022, Spirit said, no, focus. This is the work. This is the message. And when I received that it is your soul's calling, it is your purpose, it is your connection to who you really are, and it is waking up inside the dream of life to remember your soul nature and your divine nature and why you're here. When I got that message, I was like, that's absolutely true. And we get very distracted with all of these other things that we can end up talking about. And so for the last 18 months, my message has deeply gone into this space and essentially this space alone, and then how that flows out into all the areas of our life, being that the common denominator in your life of everything you're challenged by and everything you want to experience and achieve and your contentment and peace is all stemming from you, but not your mind or body, but from the spirit that you are, that is ever seeking to express through you. And the only thing we need to be aware of is we have to get out of the way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so it's this dance of my soul self and my personality self, which I call the small self. And the soul and source wants to constantly be expressing through us. And then our little self can get in the way sometimes. And so we want to attune to our soul's calling. That's one. But two is having the courage to get out of the way and like be in alignment with that. And the greatest thing that I see from over a decade of doing this work, and whether I'm talking to people who are atheists or Buddhists or religious or spiritual or whatever it is, whether we're talking about work problems or money problems or relationship or health, is that our small self gets in the way, and there are fears, there are anxieties, there are doubts, there are question marks, and ultimately courage is essential to walk into, as I say, out on a limb, as you say, out on an edge, on the edge of the leading edge of your life, to meet life at its edge into new frontiers, you have to have courage.
Mhm.
And you and I both know that, and other people here will know, that courage, as the quote says, is not the absence of fear, which I think is Theodore Roosevelt or Franklin Roosevelt. I can't remember who said it, but courage is not the absence of fear. Do not wait till there is no anxiety, fear, doubt, or question marks. That is not going to happen. We will be waiting a wholly long time. What we have to understand is that these are aspects of who we are. And actually, when you step into courage and you step into your soul's calling, whatever it is, micro or macro, the fear comes with you and you're meant to step into it, because it is in the doing of that that the fear starts to dissipate. So there is no point on my journey where there has not been fear as I've moved into all the unknowns. It's not like, oh, that person got fearless and did the things. Right?
The fearlessness comes from actually the strength, and the fearlessness comes from the actual action of moving through it. And that's where, and the wisdom and that. But what I'm curious about, and I know the answer for myself, but from your perspective, many of us, I think, on this call can understand that. But what is the fear about? Like we know, I think most of us want to have more inner freedom. We want to be aligned with our soul calling. We want to be open-hearted. We want to be connected to our higher purpose. I realize it's our small self, but what is the actual fear, would you say? What is that challenge and opportunity in that?
Okay, really good. Okay, so on one hand, this whole aspect of fear is really important to understand. You are a spiritual being, but you cannot escape your psychology and your primitive physiology.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you try to divorce spirituality from physicality and psychology, you're going to have a really rough road.
Right.
And that's where I see people spiritualizing their way through life, but they do not understand their nervous system. They do not understand their psychological wiring and their conditioning. So you're fighting against your own self, and it feels like a war inside. But I've got the soul calling, but I've got this fear, but this, but that. And when you understand that the fear comes from a couple of primitive things, as human beings, we are like innately wired to be in connection, to be accepted, to want bonding, and to want love. So if you say or do something that is counter to the norm, if you choose a path that is counter to this, to society's messages, to your family messaging, to your friend group, to whatever, you are essentially at a level of practicality going in a different direction.
Right.
That is, from a primitive point of view, I'm out on the edge. I'm out on a limb. I'm going against the norm. Will I be rejected? Will I be accepted? Will I be bonded? Will I be judged? What will people think of me?
Will
And
I
so
be
we have
alone?
this.
I think a lot
Will
of
I
people
be alone?
will be alone. Will I be misunderstood? It's a threat to the people. It can be, who are not on a
Yes.
shared path or a similar path.
Yes. And so from that primitive point of view, when you understand that's what your body and your subconscious are trying to protect you, your subconscious has one job and one job alone, and it is to keep you safe and keep you alive. So if you have any conditioning that says that I must be accepted by people and I cannot be at odds with people and I cannot risk judgment, everything about you will sabotage you to keep you small so that you don't risk yourself being put in the face of those dangers. And one of the things that one of the reasons this topic came up when you and I were chatting on just having a friend chat on
Right.
our WhatsApp the other day was that it's really become clear to me that if you're going to evolve into truly blossoming as your soulful true being, there are times when it is going to require you to speak your truth that is counter to your own partner, that is counter to your children, that is counter to your friend group, that's counter to your peers, not to be counter, but to be true in you,
To
right?
yourself. Right. Mm-hmm.
And what that often means is that there are always small micro opportunities to be doing that on a daily basis, but there are particular pivot points in your life where it starts to feel really uncomfortable because your soul is bigger than your small self and it is not having it anymore. And it wants expansion and it wants quickening and it wants to start to go in a different direction. And that's going to rattle the cages a little bit of you and your familiar life. And the other reason the fear comes up is unfamiliar, uncertain, unknown. I
Right.
don't know where this is going. I know what I don't want, but I don't know exactly where this is going.
Right. And that can
And
be
so
scary
it's
for the unknown and uncertainty for a lot of people. And yet they know they can't stay where they've been. They know that something is calling them to the next level, next place, next expression, whatever is what I hear you say.
exactly. So the evolution, the blossoming can be, I want to blossom into something greater, or it can be something in my life is breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
It can be either, and they're the same thing. Something's breaking down, so it can reformulate, or there is like a growth required from where you stand. The courage comes to say, in the face of my comfortable life, in the face of my comfortable and being in agreement with everybody and being the person people think I am, partnership, children, friends, family, workplace, whatever it is, how do I be truly authentic to discover this soul, this expanding soulful aspect of who I am? And sometimes it means people don't come with you.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
actually that's the hard truth.
I want to,
And
yeah, I want to share something really quickly. I had a very wise older friend who died at 90. I've told you about her, Yona in Maui. And you know what's on her tombstone? To thine own self be true. It's literally her tombstone. I don't think I've told you that, but she was so out of the box, so kind of eccentric and outrageous, but she died, being the outrageous, eccentric, soulful healer person that she was. And what a thing to take with you. It's a journey for all of us when you go. I just wanted to say, to share with someone who just passed away, that was her path as well. And one of the things I just want to say that I love about what you're offering to the world and what you offer to your clients and your community, as well as what's available here to the Edgewalker community, is this is a tribe, a community of people who actually, many of us, we have a shared calling, or we're all stepping out on the edge. We're moving out of the box. If we're not, we're in the process of doing it. We've been doing it. So one of the things I love about our Edgewalker community and what you offer is that we create a platform and a safe community where we can all grow individually and collectively. So just
yeah, so
that.
beautiful, so true. And I think in my community, when we do sessions, I think it's really important for people like us that are holding space, and there's probably many teachers and coaches and things here, is that there is a real authenticity about the cold hard truth of living your soul's calling. And
Right.
so what it is it's not easy. And I quoted this to you before, and I love it. I put this quote in my last book from Kurt Blackson. It is neither convenient nor comfortable. Follow your soul's calling.
It is never
It is
convenient
not, and it's not convenient, and it's not comfortable.
to
And
follow your
there's a great kind of, roses and glory kind of feeling that if I do my soul's calling and I follow these nudges, it's going to be easy and it's going to be green lights all the way. And it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. We're living in a world where there is hardened energy, where there is a predominant vibration of fear, where there are a lot of people who would love you to follow their agenda, whether it be just people who love you but want you to do a certain thing, or at a macro level, government and society and mass media and corporations or whatever it is. And so it is like your friend has on her beautiful tombstone, is to thy own self be true, is actually like a super courageous thing to do, and we in New Zealand say it takes balls, excuse my language, it takes balls of steel to be true to yourself. Like, it is required so much to go this path. The subnote to that is, it has continued to be challenging. I still on a yearly basis go, okay, hang on a minute here. What am I doing? What am I doing out here on my own, having these conversations? It would have been a lot easier for me to follow a different path, a lot easier, a lot more comfortable. And it's, again, not about like I threw my career in and I like literally sold everything I owned and I went out on this journey and I built this business and I'm doing it and I'm constantly changing it up and have very little stability, and that is really challenging. And it's not the degree to which you do it, it's a level of alignment to what it is uniquely for you as a being, because for whatever reason, that's my soul's calling. For whatever reason, it's yours in your unique way, and everybody else that's here. But your soul is absolutely did not come here for stagnancy. And as far as life's evolutionary impulse goes, the universe's impulse, stagnancy essentially is death.
Right.
And so when we are not following the impulse and we're not moving the energy and expression, and we're not following the intuition and the nudges, we are holding it back. All life wants to do, source, divinity, God, creator, universe, whatever you want to call it, by all names we honor it, it wants to flow through you, and it wants to dance in the world, and it just wants to flood through you continuously. So you are either going to dam up the river and put the reins on, or you're going to open it up and let it go. And that's where the courage comes in. If I let this out and let it go, if I change this job, shift this relationship, move to that location, say this thing that wants to be said, what will happen? I don't know, but probably magic and miracles.
Right. Imagine that, magic and miracles. Well, and the thing is that as we express, as in all the conversations you and I've had, and as we each align and express that with that soul calling, or with our true essence more and more, what we're going to create, express, be, and do, we've never expressed, been, or done before. That's part of the unknowing, is we're being and doing something we've never done, because we're expanding and evolving. And I want to bring up, because you and I talked about this, that some people have more of a humanity calling and some people have more of a self calling. And I think, if you don't mind, because every time each one of us aligns, it helps to shift the world. It helps to shift the larger field. But some people feel more drawn for a humanity calling of their soul, and some a self. Tell me if I've got that wrong, but we talked about that. And I don't know if it's worth with that distinction, worth maybe touching in on that for a second.
I think it's important. I think it's important because it might look like from the outside, like, for example, if someone thought that I do what I do for humanity calling, I actually don't. I actually don't. Like, it's largely for my joy and my own self-expression. And I know it helps the world. So therefore it gives me a deep sense of purpose. But if
Right.
you ask me to go to activate on a humanitarian mission, I would immediately feel disconnected.
Right.
Like, there's not, because I know in myself that I am not thing. I am just like, I could not be here and everything's going to be fine, because source is just moving its energy through whoever is open for it to move through, and everyone will get everything they need. And so it's not a it's a self-focus for joy and contentment, but it's not a self-focus like I'm important to have to be doing this, if that makes sense. And
Well,
I
it's
think,
not selfish. It's actually selfless ultimately, but it's not selfish, I think is what you're saying too. In fact,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
important that we do this. Mm.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think this segues nicely too. So if people want something practical, um, to go, okay, well, hang on a second here, hold up about the courage, like, what is my soul's calling? I have like a little framework, and I can really quickly in a few minutes
Okay.
describe it, and then people can go away with it. And that is, try on for size that your soul came for 4 things, because no one on this planet can escape them, and hardly can it be by mistake. So number 1 is learning. Number 2 is healing. Number 3 is growth. And number 4 is contribution. And so when you think about the fact we're not here by mistake and we've incarnated, and most of us have a sense that there is something very divine and magical that is beyond this realm, that peeks its way into our life or through our heart from time to time, and we sense that's true, we're not from this dimension, then if I came for learning, healing, growth, and contribution, look at your life right now and you will see the footprints of it. You will see the ways you're learning. You'll see the ways life pushes all of your buttons, trying to get you to learn your soul lessons, to learn and heal and grow. And then contribution is what people think of as purpose. My contribution, like, where is my meaning and how am I giving to the world? And on that last bit on contribution, if all you did was this one thing, your life would unfold like a beautiful path. And that is, pay attention to your passions, your inspirations, and your intuition, and don't ever deny them, and pull the thread on them whenever they show up with courage, because you don't know where they're going to lead. And when those things converge, your passions, your intuition, and your inspirations are all kind of bubbling and converging, go heavily in that direction.
Mhm. I mean,
Because that is that soulful
we
self.
literally talk about going with the flow, but it really is going with that flow and trusting it. And I know, you've written a few books, and there a lot of your information about your books and what you do is on your BernadetteLogue.com website. But I know a lot of it's about, when we're aligned, not only does the spirit flow through us, but we attract like a magnet, law of attraction, that which is, we see the signs, we see the doors opening up, we see our inspirations or the possibility. When we're blocking the flow, or we're not allowing it to express through us, it's not just it's what we can't see, what might be right in front of us, the next step, the next, nudges, the guidance. So I think it goes sort of both ways. Is that a good way?
Totally does.
Mm.
Totally does, right? So we've had lots of fun conversations about how you're
Mhm.
like, okay, spirit, like just last week, spirit, I've got nowhere to live in 3 weeks. I've got my suitcase, where am I going to live? And I couldn't find somewhere. And I was like, okay, there has to be something magical within 48 hours. Someone's like, oh, I've got a place. Tell your sister I've got a place. You can go and stay in it. It's just around the corner. It's like
Right,
perfect unfolding, right? But here's what happens. When you get in deep devotion to this is not the higher reality,
right.
like you and I are going to be on the other side one day going,
Yeah,
ah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we totally took a while to get that, didn't we? Okay, so you go, this is real, right? This physical reality is real, all these things are real, but there is a higher truth. And my obsession is my devotion to that higher truth, that is what's really going on. And then this is one way that that higher dimension is expressing, and that we've come to play in this challenging earth school with all this stuff. Okay. And so in that, when you know, like I had a conversation last night coaching with someone about this, when you're like, I am very devoted and I am very spiritually aligned, and why hasn't it shown up yet? Why hasn't the thing that I want shown up? Mm-mm. Like, it's like, okay, if I'm going to follow the path, I have to have absolute, unwavering trust and faith, because the opposite is a smidgen of doubt. And when a smidgen of doubt comes in comes fear and anxiety and second guessing, and we're right back down into I'm in my small self. There's no openness, there's no channel. And so, as devoted as we can be to getting up and brushing our teeth, cleaning our house, doing the grocery shopping, like taking care of other people. That's the level of devotion that we want to have to. In the morning, you get up, and someone said to me, where do you get your enthusiasm from? And I'm like, I cultivate that enthusiasm. Like, I am going to get up in the morning and I'm like, I am not doing sadness. I am not doing regret. I am not doing shame. I am not doing worry. I'm not doing doubt, because it feels terrible and I'm making a choice.
Right.
I am soul, I am source, I am faith, divinity is showing itself to me. I'm going in this direction, I'm trusting. Everything always works out, you know, and putting yourself in community where you and I will talk and you'll be like, don't forget,
Mhm. Remind.
always everything in the highest good. And I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
right. And so you need the people, you need to be here at Edgewalker Cafe every single time Judy and Patricia and Susan run this. You need to be here because it's the constant remembrance
Mhm.
of the
And I
truth.
think the other thing to align with your soul's calling and to stand up and have the courage, you mentioned faith, but it's also letting go of control. Like a lot of
Yeah,
us, we're leaders, we're managers, we're coaches, we're navigating, there is a level of really surrendering
yeah.
and letting go of control and trusting and making, you said, making a choice, which to me is a consciousness. It's a conscious choice. It is a decision, and it's
It's a
sometimes like
decision.
a moment to moment decision, but it's sort of
Hmm.
surrendering, letting go of control, and then making a conscious choice to follow this path and to show up and to trust, because we're really not
Yeah,
in control. I mean, I'm reforming control freak, so
yeah, yeah.
it's a journey, right?
It
Mm.
is, it is. And and that conscious choice is like people, like when I'm talking to people that aren't spiritual, they'll be like, but like, what about all of this? And I'm like, well, just forget about it being spiritual for a minute. Like, how do you want to feel on a daily basis?
Right.
They're like, well, I want to feel peace. Well, you need to make that choice. Like, and you need to make that choice every day, because you make that choice once on your yoga mat or meditation pillow and you go out into the world. Have you seen the world? That world is going to trigger you. So you better
Right.
make that choice every morning, every lunchtime, every evening about how am I going to be? And that's where we build the muscles in our psychology and in our nervous system to get ourselves consciousness, mind, emotions, heart, body aligned to our soul, so that our soul is not this idea and divorced from the reality of trudging around in this world, but becomes like an integrated thing.
Right.
So we say, okay, what's my mind doing on a daily basis? Well, if your mind is running literally contradictory statements to I am soul, I am source, I am supported, I am loved, I am purposeful, then your job is, and I say this to people all the time in my mind mastery work, is that your job is to provide loving leadership to your mind, to your emotions, to your nervous system, to your body, like to parent yourself into alignment. because no one else can be there to do it for you all the time because everyone's doing it for themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
I posted something on Facebook for Valentine's Day about self-love. It really wasn't about loving your partner because ultimately we can't give what we don't have. So if we want to love our community and love our clients and love our partners and our families and our whatever our purpose is, if we're not cultivating that first here, we don't have it to give out there. That's the thing. I mean, it really has to come from the center first, the self and then
Exactly.
go from there.
Exactly. And just going back to what you said about control, I'm sure if we asked people and we asked for a show of hands, there would be a lot of hands up about control. And the one thing that I learned about that most recently, not realizing that that was a central theme of my soul lessons, that took a long time to get that lesson, was I got shown in a spiritual quest what happens when you control and what happens when you let go. And the visual imagery was when you control, everything turns to grey concrete.
Wow.
There's
It's
no life. It's
density.
devoid of life, completely devoid of life. And when you let go and you lean, or what I call sit back, take your hands on sit back, and that requires the trust and courage to do that, it explodes with light. Like
Wow.
literally, life force energy explodes through you into your art, your work, your cooking, your gardening, your writing, your business, your relationships, whatever it is, just becomes filled with this flowing energy, which is light.
Mhm.
And when we stick our hands on like this, and this is part of the soul journey, it's not meant to be that way. That's learning the lesson of letting go. That's learning the lesson of who am I really, and can I be awake now before I get to the other side and go, ah, that's what it was about.
Well, and I know, and I think, depending on whoever's on the call today, and, we're all meant to be here right now, wherever you are on your journey, I know, and some people may relate to this, and I'm not so much here now because I'm pretty soul identified, but I've been working with clients, and I know in myself, if I think back even 10, 15 years ago, the battle was constant within myself because I was still kind of ego personality identified, and yet I was moving into my connecting with my spiritual essence. And there was this death I had to go to of my old identity. And it doesn't mean I was coaching then and I'm coaching now, but I was identified by the old constructs, the old conditioning, the old beliefs of who I thought I was. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that was so not who I was. And it's not a judgment, but there's more spaciousness and more freedom. But that's an edge when you're kind of
Mhm.
up against your own what you think is your identity and realize it's not who I am. There's sort of a death that goes on to the ego mind. And I mean, can you speak
Definitely,
to that? I mean,
definitely. Yeah,
challenge.
I mean, I thought I had the death of the self the beginning of my journey, and I was like,
Yeah,
now I just laugh. It's like, oh, you and I have laughed about this. Like, oh
yeah, I
gosh,
know.
oh how naive. But but I had a huge death of self and a death of a lot of things around me in my life, all crumbling about 18 months ago, and it's extremely painful. But in the middle of it, this is faith. This is where your spiritual practice comes in. In the depth of that, literally sobbing on the floor
Hmm.
was the voice that says this is meant to be happening.
This is meant to be happening.
Because
Mhm.
what is not aligned cannot sustain.
Right. Hmm.
And there is an element, like we have seasons of our lives. So that season that you described of your life was perfect because that was that season of your journey until there was a evolution, a quickening to a new level of you. And it's hard when you do break through and you look back and you have, like I had immense shame, immense regret, immense emotions about oh my gosh, I thought I was awake. Oh my gosh, what was I doing? Oh my God. And it's like, this is the journey of honoring that I am a little caterpillar. And then I am dissolved in the cocoon, and then I've got wings, but I don't know how to use them. And so we are morphing and evolving through these seasons. And those deaths are necessary. And it's the willingness to let go of your identity when you have no idea
Right.
who you
Right.
really are. I've had people literally say to me, I've finally seen the reason I won't leave this relationship or this job, or I won't actually do the work to heal my mind. It's because I don't know who I would be without this.
Of it, right, exactly. And that's the thing, if you're externally identified, and then it means having to leave anything. And I've seen that, and I've done that myself until I get hit over the head enough. I'm like, okay, I'm going to break this pattern. I'm going to let it go. But you're going into a void, but it's a void of light because the identity with that patterning, let's say, of who I thought I was sort of killing me emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah,
I mean, it's dis-ease on a lot of levels. So
yeah,
who will I be? But that's where the faith and the courage comes in. That's where literally the leap, the leap into the unknown,
yeah, yeah.
into
Because
possibility.
if we know where we're going the same way.
Right.
If we know where we're going, we're literally repeating our past that is embodied in us as memory and patterning and conditioning, and we are forging our mind-made path. And the old joke is, we make plans and God laughs. So it's like, can we see that some of the greatest things in our lives have evolved out of us not engineering it? Like the way we meet the loves of our life, the way we meet great friends, you and I, like the way that we've had business opportunities come up or career opportunities or whatever it is, it's never been engineered by your personality self, never, not once. And people
Right.
say, well, I engineered my children because I showed up and I made my children. I'm like, you did not make your children. Divinity made your children and you participated in the recipe, and that is it, right? So
Right.
it's like this, when we can say, like, can we stand on the planet and just throw our hands up and go, I don't know? Like, it's
Right.
probably the most honest truth that we could speak is like, throw your hands up and go, I don't know, use me and move me.
Richard Moss, who is a great spiritual teacher and author and has been transformational, his work's been and retreats have been transformational for me. I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he said the full experience of God is ultimately I don't know. Like he says, that's the experience of God is I don't know, and that's scary to not know, but it's also exciting and full of possibility and full of what's next and wonder. It's all in how you want magic, all in how you want
Magic, miracles, like the field of
miracles.
possibility. Like I just say, uncertainty is the field of possibilities. And when I am facing uncertainty, I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't know what's happening with this. I don't know what's happening with that. I don't know what I should do next. Even in the depths of I know what I'm here for, when I have moments like I'm like, well, actually, what if I just let go of everything? What if again I let go of everything and I say, I don't know anything? Then what can come through? Well, anything and everything can come through, from the no thing, of the nothingness, of the field of just pure energy and divine intelligence. Then from nothing can come everything. But we are in a society which glorifies knowing. And so it's very
Mhm.
challenging to stand in the world for your ego and personality self to go, oh, hey, I'm Bernadette, I don't know anything.
Right.
Want to hang out, right? And it's like, but actually, that is the most gracious, humble, beautiful, open channel vessel that you can be for life force to move you for your benefit and everyone else's benefit, when you don't cling on to it has to be a certain way. And Spirit said to me in the middle of the night, when I was literally down on my knees, breakdown of identity to go to a new level. And I could kind of feel that that's what was happening, as everything in me and around me was dissolving so I could go to a new level. And I just heard one word and I woke up in the middle of the night and they said, capitulate. You need to like literally yield, like just yield. And that is the opposite of human nature, is to just literally lay down and say, may the highest good be done, and move me. And like all the hairs on my neck are standing up right now. And it's like that level of, and I want to cry about it because it's really
Yeah, no,
painful to
it's
do, when all
absolutely
you want to do, like, because we had phone
yeah.
conversations at that time, all you want to do is, for the love of God, like, give me something to hang on to here. Please, can I just hang on? And they're like, stop hanging on, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. And
Mhm.
when you're challenged by your health or relationship or career or money or whatever it is, all you want to do is figure it out.
Right, figure it out.
And
Mhm.
then here's what you do, you make space, and then you go, well, I've been making space for 48 hours and nothing's happened. I
Right.
better. We
God
laugh
give
now.
me
It's not
patience. Yeah,
it's
God give
not
me a
funny
patience
when you're
now. Right, right, exactly. So
but it's not funny when you're in the middle of it.
no, it's not at all. So I'm wondering, because I do want to allow a good maybe 10 or 15 minutes if anybody has any questions, because this is
And we
so
do have
rich, so
people,
deep. And I think also many of us feel a quickening and an urgency. Judy, did you?
yeah, there's several people who have questions.
Right, okay. So Bernadette, if we can maybe move into a place where we have some questions. I can't see the whole board, but can you see, maybe Judy, you want to call on people since I can't
Yes,
see them?
yes, I'm happy to get
You
us
okay with
started.
that, Bernadette? Does that feel
Yeah,
good?
fun. That sounds
Wonderful.
fun.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so Lisa Elliott has some reflections and a question that she can also share a little bit about her own experience regarding this question. So Lisa, over to you. Over to you.
For calling on me first, Judy.
I am Lisa.
So one of the things that I'm coming into realization, and it's really because I'm beginning to work with, as a coach, beginning to work with people around their soul's calling, their vocation, and their dharma. And what I'm beginning to recognize is that for me, it was more of a dark night of the soul experience for me, and several iterations of that. But for some people, it's just really sitting and asking life affirming questions or visioning and realizing that they're already in it and not aware of it. So I just want, I think sometimes when I hear these conversations, it always sounds like, to use a, pardon if anyone is offended by this, but tarot card metaphor, the tower moment, the tower and the tarot card, where it's always this big surprise, this explosive thought. You know, I'm divorcing my husband, I've thrown out the dog, I'm not talking to my kids, and I'm in the woods, bald headed. And it's not always all of that. Sometimes it's just breathing and recognizing right where you are and having that gratitude of right where you are. That is your soul's calling. So
Beautiful. So true. Can I just speak to that for a moment? Because that's so powerful. You know, people often say, I'm trying to find my purpose. I'm like, if your heart's beating and you're here, you're already living your purpose. Because you can't not, because you're learning, you're healing, you're growing. And from the day you're born, you're contributing, because your little baby self has already affected all these people by just arriving in your glory, right? And so, you know, some of the women in my community, like just last week, someone joined in and said, I've just realized that I'm in my purpose already. And my purpose is this way that I hold energy and I'm a listener. I'm like, that's absolutely it. It's not some, like, I'm going to invent some technology that's going to save the planet, or I've got to go and do this great big thing. For some people, it's gardening. That's their soulful self-expression and that's their contribution. For some people, it's, you know, coaching someone to help find their dharma. For some people, it's holding the energy and it's being in a state of consciousness and how that affects other people. So I really love that you said that, because I have a love-hate relationship with the self-help industry, and that it's kind of like self-help, self-harm, because what it does is it torments people. Like sometimes people come to me and I'm like, just stop all of it, like including I'm not going to give you any, because this whole seeking path, and I've done that seeking path, and I'm sure if we all put our hand up, there's been a lot of people that will put their hand up and said, I've sought constantly for something outside of me, when actually it's the old saying from the book The Alchemist, he goes out on the journey and ends up back under the same tree, right? The gold is within. So I really appreciate you saying that, because quite often people are feeling like it does need to be some grand thing, and actually often it's right under our nose as these very subtle, nuanced moments of intuition, moments of grace with our inspirations and our ideas and the ways that we want to feel fully expressed in life. So I love that, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. And Judy, anyone else that you can?
Christina Chambliss. Christina, are you still
Hi.
here?
Hi.
Hi, lovely.
Hi, how are you, Beak?
I'm good.
One of the things that I struggle with is I'm trying to do the surrender, and I feel that I am, but at the same time, then I'm always questioning, am I not taking action when I should be taking action? Like, what is the interplay between action and surrender?
Perfect. Do you want to answer that, Patricia, or do you want me to, or do you want both to?
No, go ahead, Bernadette. I was just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, that's a beautiful question, and it's a really confusing one of the many contradictions in spirituality and self-help. Oh, but I'm meant to be the creator of my life. Oh, but I'm meant to be completely surrendered. And it's like there's many versions of these polar opposites that are super confusing for people. So what I suggest is think about surrendered action. So we can take action. I love this from the Tao Te Ching, is like, right action? Can you be still until right action arises? And then when you take that action, you take it knowing it's the thing to do, and you take it from a state of peaceful allowing, instead of, I've got to take action, and I'm taking action from this really, like, not forcing place, but this very attached place. So that's one idea, is when you actually take action, you can be taking surrendered action, because surrender is just a state of being. It's like just a state of allowing. It's not being attached and holding on to things. The other thing is when it comes to taking action, I'm going to propose to you that you know, Christina, what action needs to be taken, and if an action is a right action for you to take, like deep within, but we get in our mind about it. So what is the next most obvious step for me to be meeting life halfway, for me to be meeting life in the field? Like if I have a goal or I have a challenge I need to overcome, if I was to be fully participating, like fully accountable, fully responsible, and doing the things that I know would support me and help me and put me in action with life's flow, then what might those things be? And then there is a very different energy to, well, I feel like I should do this. And it's like, I'm going to force myself and make myself. But don't confuse that with fear. Because, for example, if you asked me to go and do, like, write a book right now, I'm like, oh my, no, I'm done with that right now. I don't want to do, that's not right action for me right now. I've just written one, I don't want to write another one right now. Like, that's not right action for me. But if you asked me to go and speak on stage to 1,000 people, I'm like, okay, that terrifies me. But that's a right action, because that's an opening that would align to me being in flow of what I love to do, which is connecting with more people. So you have to kind of, it's very nuanced. Okay, so think about your situation right now. You know if you're in surrendered state because you feel peaceful inside. And then from that place, what things do I need to do? Because I'm really hot on practicality. Spirituality is not sitting back on the couch, meditating and feeling all peaceful and going, and life is just going to unfold for me. It's like what if your like soul lessons are learning discipline and confidence and connection with other people, and life wants you to get up and get into life and face your fears of those things, but do that from a place of peaceful allowing, not forcing, right? I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add to that, Patricia, around surrender versus action.
Oh, I think I just said it's doing from a place of being. Most of us do, and then to have things, and then we could be somebody. That's the kind of the Western of a different model, where it's really about doing from your beingness, and then you can, I'm going to say, have what you want, but then you can create and manifest what you want. So it's just another way of putting it. So I would just say that, and then open up.
And I think that one other small thing on that is, and I'm also really hot on this, is I'm just really like about practical reality of life. And when you want to achieve things in your life and they feel inspired and passionate for you, often it's not easy.
No,
It's just not easy. And like the number of, like I said to my community the other day, if you knew how much work and things that I've had to do that are outside my comfort zone that I have had to do in order to create my life to be the way it is, you'd probably be like, what? And it's like, it's not like roses and glory and flowing and easy. It's been super challenging, and it has literally evolved me to have to do it. Like it's basically forced me to become the new, proper, true, unfiltered, authentic version of me to do that. So it's not that we sit around waiting until everything aligns and it all feels easy and there's green lights and we don't have any fear. It's just the way we're coming about it, like Patricia says, is that your state of being inside is in trust and is in ease, and then you're acting from that state on what feels right. And sometimes, side note, you don't know what's right to do, but you just kind of take your best guess sometimes, because that's all there is available. From where I stand right now, I don't need to know 10 steps or 100 steps. I just need to know the next most obvious step. And if I pull the thread from a place of trust and ease and willingness, then things will unfold and I'll be clear who to call, what to ask, what to do, where to go. So it's that kind of micro step that you can take.
That's very helpful and very practical. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah. And I
Thank
think we
you.
have time for one more. And but there's lots of beautiful comments in the chat. And if anyone wants to save the chat, when you go to the chat on the lower right-hand side in the chat box, there are 3 dots. And if you, oh, that's not what's, well, there's a down arrow. There is a place where you can pull up. I actually have to look at this myself. No, it's not
No,
showing.
you're right. You're right, Judy.
Okay, there should be 3 dots. And when you pull down on that, it says save chat. And from the time when you hit that, it won't save anything afterwards. So I suggest if you want to save the chat, do that just before you log off, and then you will get loaded up to your computer.
And
this
I-
whole chat.
Perfect. And I want to make sure BernadetteLogue.com, right, is your website, Bernadette. So if anyone wants to connect with you or learn about your books and your programs and your free offers and everything, it's actually was in the email and the promotional piece, but we can also put it in the chat. I don't see the chat from where I am, but okay.
Yeah, I can put it in. But I wanted to give Gary Averill a chance to say something, because he just typed something in that really touches me about the 2 worlds, Gary, that you are walking in. And one of the things in the chat is how much today's conversation for many people has really resonated and touched them deeply. And Gary, I'm really feeling that from what you've shared. And I wonder if you would be okay with sharing it. And it's okay if you're not, but if you would want to speak your
The thing I'm
situation.
really trying to talk about is that there's 2 things. One, I call this New Age. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just giving it a name. There is no church, but they all have, I mean, I can walk anywhere and talk to somebody who is in this realm, and we can talk the same language. There's no doctrinal. That's really, really neat. But I walk in 2 worlds now. God put me back in 2014 in the Pentecostal evangelical realm. I've been there for 7 years. Once in a while, I have to take a retreat so I can get back to my roots. But what gets me is the pain of how, if any of us try to talk to an evangelical or Pentecostal, it can't be done because we're evil, because we believe, it's not biblically based. And one thing I'd love to see is somehow, I don't think there's ever a way for us to come together. And I wish, I mean, to them, I'm this wonderful, beautiful person, a very deep Pentecostal. Well, at the moment I tell them that I'm New Age, I'm gone. I've lost it.
Hmm.
That's very heartbreaking.
Very heartbreaking. I really hear you. Can I speak to that a little bit? Maybe offer
Sure, go ahead.
little thing? Yeah, I literally had people cut me off for the same reason as you're just not on the planet with me and you are contradictory to my faith and belief system. And I think the thing is that one of the greatest things you can do for the healing of that energetically is simply to hold the remembrance that there is no separation. So at a soul level, there is no separation. You and I are the same being, Gary. You and those Pentecostal evangelical friends are the same energy, are the same source. We are literally rays of light from the sun. And that is the absolute non-physical, unseen, energetic, divine truth. And so you can hold the remembrance of that for them. That is not going to be their journey in this dimension, in this lifetime. So in this lifetime, they have incarnated to come and walk this path, and they are experiencing all of the things around learning, healing, growth, evolution, contribution inside that model. But for you, it's like, can we hold love for them despite where they're at and the cutting off of us? This separation, what happens is we come into the world, we come from absolute oneness. There is no body, there is no thing, there is no personality, there is none of this. And then we immediately experience the great separation. Now I am in physical reality and I'm dropped into a body and I see myself as separate to you. Then we have a triple, double split. Our mind splits off. Oh, not only am I separate from you, but you are evangelical, Buddhist, like political leaning, and we start to do, and we are now splitting off at all levels. And the return to your soul inside the dream of life, to awaken inside the dream of life as you have, and to now be in your soul remembrance, is to heal the separation. And it's your gift to just be present in the world with people that are saying those things and cutting you off in that way, and hold the remembrance that they are you and you are them. And to be able to feel that in your heart, like that in itself is a massive, massive healing contribution. But the thing is that we have to have the absolute detachment that they will understand anything about that.
Well, and can I say something, is that what I witness, whether it's, different religions, I mean, we see this all the time, different races, genders, whatever it might be. And this is not a judgment, but it's that when the more we are spirit, soul, identified, aligned, the less we're threatened by people that are different or look different or say different things. The more we are identified, I'm speaking generally, by my conditioning, my beliefs, my labels, whatever, when someone or something shows up, I mean, we all know this, that reflects back something that's different. We reject it, we attack it, we go away from it because it's a threat to our identity. It's more, and I don't mean ego like conceited, but they say ego means easing God out, that stands for that. And that, and that's, we see that out pictured all over the world. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, so I just want to build on what you said. And I think when we can just hold that space and know that that person is us and vice versa, even if we don't speak it, but it's difficult. It can be very painful when
The
people.
thing is that I'm seeing right now that's important. One of the things I'm really dealing with, can the human body be evil, but the spirit is beautiful, but they have to observe what the body is doing, but do not have power to overcome it. And that then makes it that this world is more of a play, not it's not about the spirit itself. The spirit is still beautiful and wonderful. I know that's very um, very controversial.
I think just great respect to you for raising challenging questions, and like I can see you're like processing like how do I reconcile these things? And the second we are going, this is good and this is evil, and that is right and this is wrong, and that is high and that is low, and this is good and this is bad. It's this like radical viewpoint. If truth is true, then it's always true. So if you say God is love and everything is God, divinity is love and everything is divinity, then there is none of that. There is literally none of that. And it's like, but that is extremely controversial to say to somebody when you see horror and when you see terrible traumatic things happening and you see people behaving a certain way. And it's this, how do we reconcile inside of ourselves if love is the foundation and the truth? And yes, fear is very real in this realm because we are deep inside a dream of life, and people are going to live from their conditioning and their paradigms through the generations and ancestry and experiences. How do we stay in this remembrance and awareness? Like, we need to be able to, if we want to walk in our soul's alignment and our soul knows the truth, that love is love and there's nothing else, then when we sit with people and they are, but your body is evil and that thing you're doing is evil, there has to be a complete acceptance of, I love this person is me and I am them, and here's what I do. I don't know if it's useful or not. Patricia may have a different view, but I literally say inside myself when I'm with people that are really confronting or challenging, that are abusing, like are very abusive toward me, like you shouldn't be saying that, you should be this, you should be that. It's like, you are me and I am you, and I love you, and I don't need to know you to love you because I know where you came from and I know I came from the same place. And so I'm just going to honor where you're at on your soul journey, and you may not wake inside the stream of life, and that may be absolutely divinely perfect for your lifetime. But it's like, can you bring what you know to be your higher truth to those situations, Gary? Like, can you say, what I know in the bones of my being and in my heart, how do I apply that when I'm facing these contradictory beliefs and perspectives?
Thank you, Bernadette. And not to take it personally, which is very difficult sometimes, because it's so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gary. And we don't have time for any other questions, but I'll make a few quick announcements, if that's okay, Patricia.
Yeah, and I
And
just want to.
then you and B can make your last comments after I
Okay,
finish.
sure. Go ahead, Judy, please.
Okay, great. So, oh golly, we're so glad you're all here. This was really special. And I know people have been touched deeply and have much to share with others around this concept. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Bernadette, for this powerful conversation. And our next Edgewalker Cafe is March 14th, so a month from now. And I will be hosting Shadrach Mazaza from South Africa, who will be speaking about the connection between personal transformation and the transformation of Africa as one consciousness. So I hope you'll join us. And if you're not a part of, if you're not subscribed to the Edgewalker newsletter, I encourage you to do that if you'd like to know more about future cafes and other offerings. And you can do that on our website, edgewalkers.org. And also, for those of you who are wanting to know more about what qualities and skills you are really strong in that will help you to live your soul's calling more deeply, we have assessments on the Edgewalker website that you can explore. And the last thing I want to share is this is my new book. This is my 10th book. And Bernadette, I'm like you. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. No more books. But it was a delight to put this book together. It's called Inspiring Workplace Spirituality. And it is a collection of essays I've written over the last 20 years. And one small section actually has profiles of different business leaders who are Edgewalkers. It tells their stories. So you can get that on Amazon or emerald.com. It's Emerald Publishing. So that's it for my announcements. And Patricia, thank you so much for inviting Bernadette. What a treat, and just what beautiful.
Edgewalker and first of all, congratulations, Judy. Your books are amazing. You know, with Edgewalkers and from there on. So congratulations on that. But you know, Bernadette, it's I'm just so grateful for who you are and who you're being and your courage and our connection and what you brought today. And this is recorded, right, Judy? So if people want to hear it again, I mean, there was so much deep information, and it'll be on the website, right? Edgewalkers.org. That's where they'll be able to find it when recorded, just so people.
And we also have a YouTube channel, an Edgewalker YouTube channel, so you can find it either place.
Okay, thank you. And Bernadette, is there anything you want to share with the group about any programs or anything you have that's coming up, or anything at all? Any closing remarks?
We've just done some events recently. We don't have any live things coming up, but you can jump over to BernadetteLogue.com, and I've got like a free masterclass where we go really deep into like aligning to your soul. I've got a free guide there and other resources that are all available for you to access immediately if you want to learn more. And my book, probably the easiest and quickest thing, is my book that I published last year, Your Soul Journey Simplified, which is like a really practical, methodical framework for getting into alignment and understanding with questions and prompts. You know, how to really connect in with who you are beyond this physical and why you're here, and how to start activating that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank
you, my dear, dear friend. This was really timely and inspiring and important, you know, important work. So thank you for being with
I'm
us.
grateful.
Everyone, we had a wonderful turnout today for making the time to be with us. And we look forward to seeing you all next month. And Bernadette, if you can just hang on for a minute till the end, and Judy, just for a second. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are, and many blessings. Lots of love. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.